Um, so my last question is kind of a fun one.
Okay.
As a person who lives in Pottawatomie County and has lived in Pottawatomie County my whole life, I've looked at a map of Oklahoma City. Really big. It doesn't just encompass Oklahoma County. It also has parts of Cleveland County and Canadian County, and also Logan County too, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, a little bit.
A little bit. But there's also a little piece
There is a
that is
tiny.
in Pottawatomie County. Why is that there? Has that been annexed by Oklahoma City? And how long has it been annexed by Oklahoma City?
I should actually ask. I don't know the timeline of when that was annexed. I have to assume it was pre-80s. But because since I've been on council, we've annexed a handful of we've annexed land into the city since I've even been on council, that it could be, even more recent, but I know the sort of history of our kind of annexation boom was kind of probably the 60s through the 80s or so. And so, but I should ask some of the specifics and get some of that information and share it with you. Because my understanding is there have been discussions about de-annexing, different parts of the city, either back to unincorporated, um, county land or into another municipality. And I have been told, the thing I've been told about why we have not de-annexed that little square that's in Pottawatomie County is that for some reason it generates, and again, we can't, the legality of us knowing where in different parts of what both industry, well, I should say it like this. When we are told like where sales tax is coming from, sales and use tax is coming from within the city, there's like various laws that restrict more than just a few people in our finance department to know like what the specific businesses where they were coming from. If like it's like we can know these like broad categories like pharmacy retail, so like a CVS or a Walgreens type store, but I can't know this CVS on the corner of May and 50th, right? Like I can't know
Yeah.
their specific, right? But they can aggregate it up to like grocery or, like retail clothes or retail, you know, camping, like those sorts of these like large categories. Similarly, there's like zip code sort of restrictions, I believe, is my understanding. But the sort of thing that's been shared through me or with me through the grapevine is that little square of Pottawatomie County actually generates a good amount of sales and use tax for us, that there has not been an interest from the city to de-annex it for that reason. And I should just go look on the county records for Pottawatomie County and see who even owns that area, because I don't know if I have to assume it's privately owned if it's generating sales and use tax, but I've yet to really go look at like what is there. I think a little bit I'm like, oh, I might be stepping on some toes legally to know that, but I feel like if I'm doing it on my own, it's not a problem. I can't be using like city channels to do it. But it's a really odd little square that's just like, because it's like you can see in the when you look at the map, if you look at just Ward 4, because that's where it's in,
Yeah.
it's like the line, and then there's just like a little square of Pottawatomie County, and it's like, why is just that? Because it's not like a large, usually it seems like when you see these annexations, it's this, larger kind of section of an area, but it's just this tiny little square. So, but I can ask, and I'll put it on my list to ask the history of when it got annexed and who requested it, because a private property owner can request to be annexed into a city. If they're in one city and they want to actually be in a different one and they're like right on that line, they can request that. Or if they're in unincorporated county land, they can request to be in the municipality or the city, obviously in our annexation grab and, over in our historical records. can also do that work. So I can ask some of those questions and find that out for you.
All right.
It's a very
That's
odd,
interesting.
the
Yeah.
history of annexation stuff just is fascinating to me, because I get it to a certain extent, what the logic was, I guess, that like, oh, if we have more land, we'll get more sales tax potentially. But then it's like, yeah, also you have all the infrastructure that you're gonna like, it seems so short-sighted. And so I'm always very curious, because in the stuff I've read and talked to people who were around in those times, I've never heard that there was a big push against it to say,
Yeah.
but like, at what point are we gonna, like, at what point is this actually going to even out, where like, yeah, we might be able to have control over this land and gain any property tax or use tax that's generated on it, but like, at what, what is the cost of infrastructure? So either that movement existed but was, not obviously in the sort of halls of power, or it did, was a conversation, but the majority just, kind of plowed forward on its own,